Here are some things I would try to work on as regularly as possible. This is I would try to work on as regularly as possible. This is from a book called Thoughts and Feelings. I reversed it. But this is a little, there goes my speech. This is a little checklist. But this is a little, there goes my speech. This is a little checklist. It says, needing more education or experience. Then over here it says, this is a little checklist. It says, needing more education or experience. Then over here it says, none, little, moderate, or major. Then over here it says, none, little, moderate, or major. So it all varies on the answer. And I checked major for numerous reasons. Some of these are very essential. And keeping them in certain ways is also essential. Like here, I wrote the date on it. The problem with writing the date on some things is it changes every day. All these do. So it varies on what I do regularly and what I want to spend my time on. Like this, I'll write random stuff. This is room items. This right here is based off different things. Like each room has different moods for me, and the moods vary. Some moods stay the same though, and the moods vary. Some moods stay the same though, no matter what time it is, no matter what's in the room. This also varies to room number of windows per room, the window size, regardless of the room size. The window size, regardless of the room size. The room furniture varies. The furniture I'll probably never see and use. And then here is other things I do sometimes. And then here is other things I do. Sometimes I misspell, which is not my fault. With dysgraphia, misspelling is very common because of infrequency of spelling, not just spelling it out verbally, but spelling out non-verbally, unless you write and talk, which varies for me. Sometimes I don't like talking while I'm writing. And again, we don't need to diagnose, because the more inaccurate we get with diagnosis, the worse their medical can get and become. And it can become more of a challenging to understand how much of it is accurate and isn't. And a lot of the time, a lot of times a certain schooling, it's not well appreciated well. And it needs to be, because I trust some schools over other schools any day. including the staff, male or female. But again, the trust has its own disadvantages too. I'm not always into trusting to where I don't trust my own judgment or judgments. That makes it harder to communicate, especially or judgments. That makes it harder to communicate, especially harder to communicate. I might become unresponsive or to communicate, especially harder to communicate. I might become unresponsive or other means of communication, including walking away, not talking for hours, just trying to do what I love or do what I don't like as much, or do what I don't like as much. So, and here is, and here is a shape that's a square, rectangle. I draw shapes based on different things I like. And triangle. Sometimes I don't say the shape, but I like triangles. My grandfather had a wind chime, a triangle wind chime that my brother was supposed to give me. He never did, which is another reason I don't like my family, is they like to be mean to me. They like to take away stuff that used to make me happy or somewhat of happy. I remember houses in certain ways, especially families, houses where we used to live. Like, I had tons of places I lived at besides apartments. I lived in duplexes. I lived in houses, mainly those three. I never lived in a condo before at all, but I have known some very few people who lived in condominiums. There was also, when I was in school, they had a computer in one of the classrooms, which I'm obsessed with in different ways. I have some of my own computers that I don't use as much as I want to, because the screen issue is one, how heavy it is another, and I can't think of the name of it. There's different names for things, but the infrequent usage sometimes depends on the device. I didn't always get to use computers because my family didn't like me being on the computer a lot. Some people did, some people didn't. Like, they didn't like what I said, and some people are gonna be like that. That's just the way life is. And, you know, there's like in Darman, you're gonna get a lot of not so pleasant comments. I mean, that's just the way life is. You know, there's gonna be people who don't want to take the time to understand. They just rush to something and say something, whether a person likes it or not. So that's why they say haste makes waste. Because a lot of times when you don't think things over, like if you're the doer, if you don't think, you just do, that creates a lot of issues like that, or such as that. Like my parents, they never thought ideally about how I felt, so they kind of put how I felt aside as if theirs was more important, which I don't like participating in that kind of communication. So attending that would be very difficult at times, but if I didn't learn as much as I could from it, then I'm not learning. There's a saying for that. If you haven't learned something, I think it's new every day, you're not learning, or something like that. I don't remember where I heard it from, but there are different places that I did see it again once I tried to find it. I like doing certain research on things before I decide to do something, so including stuff like this. And that right there is a sticker. Hello. Yep, that is my name. First name. My dad had difficulty with my first name. Trying to find a song, which there are numerous songs for it, because some songs may not have the correct spelling in it, which I'm not surprised at all. My name goes back to the 1800s, so it is very popular with the C instead of the K. And it also goes to the male's name. So yeah, if Chris can also be a male name. So it's one of those names. Like Russell, my last name, goes to a man also. So like I think there was one guy that I got acquainted with that was Russell. So, I think. But because the memory is so far back, the names just depend on how I remember them or whatever. Okay. Oh, we got some people in here. But yeah, that I'm not pointing it to myself right now because I'm very stressed out. And there's things I want to show in my lives, like this book. This book is by a guy, Mike Bayer. I think it's Bayer. I've actually have written in some of these books because I love writing. There's my column stickers. I don't like this one because it's that's just such a common number. But I like hearing this in the right pitch and intonation. Otherwise, it takes a lot to communicate. This one is my favorite, ultimate favorite, because it is a maze. And this one you just find, okay, I think this is a little off here. You find this part, and then you work your way, if you can, toward the middle, like a maze. And then there's another sticker. I love stickers. And then I got some pages marked by different things. I use these dry erase clock with space for writing. And then it says your personal life inventory. So here I didn't fill out the whole entire thing. I normally don't, depending on how comfortable I am. These would vary on how true they are and whether people believe me or not, because sometimes people won't believe me and they'll explode on me and say mean things and like, oh, that's not a priority when it is. I'm not a fan of that. And this one, I prioritize self-care activities day to day as much as I can. Like, this room is what I consider a safe room, but there's some things that don't make me feel safe. Like, over here, we got major disorganization skills. Up there, we got a sprinkler system. Those are not cool. You know, the thing I hate about those is I have a lot of paper, and I hate when it gets ruined. The thing I hate about those is I have a lot of paper, and I hate when it gets ruined because then I have to do it again. And yeah, I need a laminator, but those can get quite expensive. I've seen laminators as much as $200 to $300. So some of them, yeah, they are not cheap at all. And I got my favorites here, bookmarks. I am big into Dr. Seuss. And the reason being is because that's a book I used in my childhood to learn to read, but other things that I learned about it was one of them is actually based off, I think it's figurative language, but it's based off alliteration, meaning this is a part of alliteration. Whoops. Crystal keeps her keepsakes kindly. They use the K on this one. Not all of them will be K, but mainly stick with K. So in Dr. Seuss, it'd be Aunt Annie's alligator. So they're going with the letter A. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why didn't they teach that? You know, they have all these books, and they want us to learn every aspect in ways that are very complexing. And that's why some things are harder for other people, because their brains can only hold much without exploding. And my school gave me the option to graduate on their level. So I did succeed in different areas of graduation. I got a child psychology diploma, which I can't really use like I want, but I did help some kids because I'm big into psychology. I don't care how many types of psychologies are out there, but I'd rather learn what I can and judge it less and just learn as I go. And that's the other thing in life. I try to judge in different ways, but because of when you're talking about religion, it's not, okay, I'm going to force it. No, I don't believe in that. So, because I am spiritual, I grew up Baptist, and I decided to be Christian later on. Not everything is Christian, so I already know that. But I've got other diplomas related to kid care or child care. I got one that is for making a daycare or some type of business with kids. It could be a tutoring service, or like I had after school programs which allow children to participate in anything, almost anything they want. I mean, some are limited. Like the one I worked at was a very limited child after school program. Very limited. And I kind of want to get that changed. So living in this apartment, I can't really run the business because most businesses are commercial, not residential. So that's the other thing. This is residential. I can't make it into a commercial unless I buy it, which is going to be quite expensive since they have a lot of property. This isn't the only property they have. They got some more property, and I've never been to that property before. I don't think I have. I might go there, but I'm not sure yet. But yeah, these apartments are quite expensive. But that's not why I move in. And I don't really move in for the price. Because if I focus too much on the price, then I'll never see the benefits. My grandparents taught me that. And my parents taught me that. And other people taught me that. So that's the other one. Another one I got is teacher's aid. Now the teacher's aid is more complexing. I didn't know I would even qualify for teacher's aid. So the school basically gave me after I graduated at a 72%. Okay, now some people don't realize GPAs can improve. And there is a tricky word that goes along with that, and it's called raw score. And that was my phone. Again, sorry for that noise. I hate that noise after a while. It's just telling me I have a message. But yeah, this is based off the school that I attended, so don't worry about the GPA. But most people in my family don't understand teaching varies per individual. So each child can learn, but they don't learn the same. They might learn the same subject, the same content, but still have different ways of learning. So even though 72% out of 100 is pretty low, it still qualified me for graduation, which means I had got a diploma through the school. And most people don't believe in these type of schools because they're very cautious, but these type of schools give more opportunities. Let's work on that. EEO, equal educational opportunities. Most schools provide this, but some actually just ban it completely. They don't understand the whole meaning of it or what it's intended for each individual. So this school provided me with over 3 diplomas, which for someone my age, even at the time I completed them, is a blessing. It's not, oh, I'm going to just learn it to discriminate or I'm going to just learn it to bully. No, that's not what the content is about. And we need to stop doing that with content because it hurts people like us, especially special needs. Even though I grew up in a family that it's hard to know if they were special needs or not, but I learned in my brother's diagnosis and in some of my other family, which I don't see is completely 100% accurate, why they would think that, why they would not understand. He and I don't have that much of a sister-brother relationship. So it was hard for us to develop that because our parents kept pushing the wrong things on us. And then it made us separate to where I felt bad about it because I wanted to help him in a way that would kind of be motherly, but not too, I guess, because I wanted to be a teacher at one point in time. First a writer, then a teacher. So when I write, I kind of write in certain ways. Sometimes I regret it, and then sometimes I don't. So it, like that saying, edit or regret it. Yeah, that's a big one for me because because of how I was raised, I have to edit a lot or I do regret it. And when you start counting your regrets, yeah, they climb up there pretty high. Mine are over 1,000,000 regrets. And yeah, and that's, what to do with the math on anything like that is start with a day. You're going to do that. Like for me, there's one day in particular where I'm going to do that. So, like, I count the number of emotions I have a day, which are more than 20. So, so that's the hard part because we don't know exactly the emotions all the time, every time. And sometimes I don't even say them at all. Sometimes I'm like, okay, that emotion, and they're like, what emotion? Because there's basic emotions, and then there's emotions beyond emotions. Basically, is what I like calling it, because it's like you could say angry, but since there's many forms of anger or many words related to anger, frustrated wouldn't even begin to describe my life because I was not always a frustrated baby. There were times when I liked doing things, but my family would not reinforce it. They would be like, oh, do it later, or just ignore it and go to something else. And kids don't specifically learn as much as some people do, and it depends on how they learn. Because I learned a lot over time, but I wasn't looked at as, okay, she knows. It was always, well, she doesn't know. And I'm like, great. Just because I don't show it doesn't mean I don't know it. That's one of those things where people kind of need to get used to that in a way, because my parents were always in my face about certain things. It's like, just because I'm not you doesn't mean you need to be doing that, because it hurts me. Like sometimes I need to sit down when I'm doing things because I have more control over my body. I have more control over my breathing. Depending on how far that goes with the stress. So there's 2 words that I learned when I was younger from a book. It's called hyperstress, which is stress, more stress than normal. Hypostress, less stress than normal. I've never been hypostressed. Not very often. From the time I was a baby up until now, so I'm in my 40s. And hyperstress is common every day. Like I could do one activity and have the highest stress levels, and sometimes it's really hard to lessen that. So be hypo. And this is kind of different grade level words. I'm more into kind of intermediate at this point. I've looked into some books because I could have stayed where I was in vocabulary, but I chose not to. So this is kind of around 6th grade ish, and that's a prefix. But Hypo is books are sliding on me because I'm on my bed right now. My desk is all the way over there, but yeah, it's a mess. Hyper. Yeah, and you will see some people use hyper in the wrong way, and I hate that with a passion. I do not like that. Especially this word, hypersensitivity. A lot of times medically that's used very immaturely, very unprofessionally. Not as professional as it should be. And then the other one that is used, now this one might not be used as commonly as other words, but mainly the word in it is stress. Hyperstress. Stress beyond normal. And I do these because I am sick of certain things my family did to me that prevented me from trying to improve my communication, trying to get some knowledge out there that I'm not as stupid as I'm labeled. I was labeled with MR, or presumed to have MR by, I don't know, whoever it was, but that would have been a good lawsuit. Especially since I can make connections just differently. Like, there are so many books in a bookstore that I can connect to. Whether it's just one connection or the whole thing of it. Like this says, best self. And then there are other books. Whoop. Somewhere. Disappeared again. Because I like to put my books in certain places so I can always find them, which unfortunately doesn't work very good in these apartments. Because that's my medical book right there, my school book, medical transcriptionist. I graduated from that successfully. Since this one is an in-home school, which means I do it on my own time in my own home. So not everything's going to be expertise, and that's really common. Like this one right here is one of the ones I ordered, a book that I bought. This is my favorite. Inclusive is not identified very good, but it means everyone, accommodating everyone, no matter what the disability is, no matter how permanent it is, no matter how daily it is. I've seen classes like this, but I've also seen bullies in the class too, who do not understand this word by any and all means. And there's a lot of TV shows, movies that don't describe it as accurately as it means. And sometimes inclusive can be very misunderstood too. And this is easy ways to adapt. Not every child can adapt well, so that's where adjustment disorders comes in. Another abbreviation would be AD, but that's used multiple ways. So this would be just having a variety of things, like it has, what the heck? It has a checklist, more than one checklist, like what the child does, and then you check mark it. I checked mark this off for my needs, so kind of doesn't have to zoom in here, so I have to go here. Old greeting cards. Sometimes I like those a lot. I used to work for Hallmark, so the greeting cards is like essential at times. And there's some I tried to save, but yeah, that didn't work very good. And then all these just vary. Variety of scissors differs. I love the scissors I have right now, which are basically like utility scissors. You can use them for almost anything. Cutting tires, not recommended, but cutting paper. But they also cut fabric, which I've done before. My grandma was a seamstress, kind of. It was more of a hobby rather than she got paid for it. But we did a lot of hobbies. I love stencils. Stencils is my number one thing that helped me write also. Without those, I'd be like totally lost sometimes. Not all the time. Guilty. But yeah. So you can buy this book. I can't see the ISBN back here. Right here. It says it's by some people. Women. Patty, I can't read them. Patty is one author. And Joyce. So 2 women. Now, there's multiple books by men too. So I'm not only one gender on books. Men's advice is fine, as long as I can relate. Sometimes if I can't relate, I find a way to relate. Just any way that I can. Because I'm like that. So, but this varies on this is more of how to care for and what to look for and what to do with children who are not like other children, or children that are excluded from things that don't need to be excluded. Like I was once in a wheelchair myself, and I was determined to get out of it. I was not determined to stay in it by any means. Oh no, not me. So that caused more injuries on top of the injuries I was born with. So here, I've used these before, the pedal straps. I think that is a tricycle, which I have a picture that I was on a bicycle, not a tricycle. That was an error my family made. Because of the tricycle, I cannot balance myself correctly on it, so I banned it after a while. I completely was unable to do it, no matter how hard I try. So professionally, I needed more chiropractic care, and not just any chiropractor. No, neurology, which I'm also big into somewhat. I'm getting there because medical transcriptionists taught me more about neurology. But they are specialized working with the brain and other areas in life. Like here, I don't kind of get some of this, but it's the head support when feeding a child. That's another issue with me because I have issues eating, which is not my fault. I was born like, and this is how the child's sitting. You got the back support. That differs for me, that I love back support as long as it doesn't hurt my back. Then I will need something more, like probably put fabric on here. My best bet on that. Otherwise, I'm gonna feel it and not like it because of the nerve damage done to my back. And then this is actually supporting the kid because the kid might not be able to stand on its own. And it is doing something with the box or brick. And I've been in a few classes that actually had that, where there was one, I didn't have a lot of students in there, thank God. Well, not my class, the students anyway. It was a school, so I was one of the students that was in there, but there were other students that needed supports like that. And then there are these, which are pictures. And sometimes those are absolutely necessary. They don't, sometimes it, okay, like that, I think is an or, might be considered an or. I might not even have said any of this. So I might have just wrote different things about it, or had written, because I'm that way sometimes. I just write away or type away. And the cards, I might make them. Depends. I love making cards though, or making books. I'm making mini books right now, mini vocabulary books. So I might rewrite the word again and again, and that's so my brain starts picking up on different things that it needs to. Otherwise, it's gonna make me hate myself for some reason. Yeah, and there's different reasons for that. But, and then there's these ones. Scoop and a pail. I think that's measuring cup. But this is actually a really good book. I purchased it a while back. Some of these I haven't had as long as I needed them for. Like, I needed this in my 20s. Definitely to help my family understand me better, and at my best and at my worst. Because some of these actually are eventually added with a label, which is dumb. Because sometimes the label might not be 100% related to whatever medical condition they decide to use. Like this one, exhibits delays in language skills. Yep. Because of the harshness, the intonation, and pitch my family used, my language got delayed. So that goes along with communication skills. Same thing with fine motor and gross motor skills on top of that. So all this was affected. And I didn't put my name up here because this is actually supposed to be, you can make copies, but this is actually covered. So hopefully if the author sees me, or authors, this information is not for, to bully or to not go there and misuse. I don't like misusing information. No. Some of my family actually does misuse information, which I can't appreciate. So that's another thing with this type of information. There's a lot of pages in here, but I'm not going to go through them all. That'd be too many. This one is major. And this one, it's the, even though I'm not I can't think of that, diagnostician or something, where they can make diagnosis, I have enough symptom recognition and research to know what conditions I have. Some people just make assumptions, which is not going to help me on that. And then these two vary. unable to walk without support, without help. I can, but you have to watch when I do walk because it varies on my walking when I become unstable due to not having enough chiropractic care. And then same thing with the one below it. This one is easier for me than walking, so that one actually I'm not unable to sit. Sometimes my body just acts in certain ways. It does that. Joint pain is every day, so I'm used to that. Bones break easy. This differs because I had my bones fractured. I use verbal language. Sometimes I don't like using verbal language, but I won't 100% go too quiet. If I go too quiet, that means I need calm time. I need relaxing time. I don't need time where people will just keep saying things. That's essential to note. But these all differ day to day. Sometimes I'm more active or productive than others. Sometimes I am not. And this is a lot here. So then this one is for sand and water centers. Okay, this is a very unique one because I just learned this. But when I was younger, I played in the sand quite often. But I also like the water. And there is numerous books now. One is called Sand Play Therapy. And I'm like, therapy? I actually did this and did not know I was doing it. But I love the sand texture. But not all the time. It depends on what's in the sand. To be honest. Same thing with the water. It depends on what's in the water. But I have done this since I was very young. My mom said I was 6 months old when I started swimming. So, and I don't remember if I had any coaching or anything like that. But I ended up being an Olympian, a Special Olympics Olympian in swimming. So this is one of my strengths. This is not one of my weaknesses. Although, when I get into competition, I'm not Michael Phelps. Not at all. But yeah, we did compete for different reasons. Not the same way, but yeah, we didn't compete together, but I'm just comparing. But we both knew there were a champion in us some way, somehow. And that's another thing with people who are different than other people is they want to defeat the champion out of the person instead of reinforce it. We're reinforcers. We like reinforcing the champion in us. We don't like when we get downhearted too much, too fast, too soon. And then when we do, uplifting ourselves takes a lot of energy out of us to get there. There's that one. I got most of these checked off. This one down here, it just like I said, it differs. Props for restaurants is checked off. Dress ups with easy fashioners, that one is should be check marked. Because sometimes I have issues with zippers and other things as well. Mirrors vary, absolutely vary. Strollers vary. So all these could be checked off. But it also depends on how I'm going to take it into account for each and every one of them. Cash register is I have used the cash register before. I'm not a fan of all of them, but now most of them are going digital versus non-digital. And then I've used other things, like I use typewriters. Oh goodness. I like the electronic typewriters. I'm not a fan of the manual by any means. Like the cell phones, my first cell phone was not an Android. So I regret that, getting that phone for that reason, but I don't regret it because it was a phone to eventually get some type of communication going, whether it was with friends or family or just whomever I could, as long as it was the right people, because sometimes the wrong people still get to the best of me. I've had issues with the police department, which I'm not a fan of, because I'm supposed to be, with certain careers of mine, I'm supposed to be cooperative with the police department. I'm not supposed to be an enemy. That's the other thing, because I took in multiple careers when I was younger because of the skills. I wanted to upgrade my skills and improve as I went, and just kept going. But the problem I had was skill building, or as I know it now, skill streaming, which is a book I have, but it's probably in storage because I have a storage unit. For my apartment actually has one. So here's some of my other books. This is a journal, another journal. This one is kind of unique journal. I like dolphins. I'm not a fan of some of the dolphin habitats. Bad experience with that in Florida, or wherever it was, SeaWorld, that I went to a long time ago. I got extremely mad because of how they treated the dolphins there, which the enclosure was horrible for them. I'm like, what the fuck are they thinking? These dolphins need more room than this. Because I'm a lover of animals, of all kinds of animals. Sometimes I don't like some animals, but I know the reason, certain reasons for them. Like spiders, they kill stuff. Sometimes it depends. I'm not a fan of spiders all the way. I don't like them, but I'm kind of not Little Miss Tuffet in a way. Sometimes I just try to not go there, but it depends. Yeah, some people have major phobias, and there's a lot of phobias. I did a phobia, well, it's actually based off a website, but it is a vocabulary website. It calculates your vocabulary. Now, my vocabulary, because it's confusing, I know over 100,000 words alone by itself. Unless you really understood me, you wouldn't know 100% that that's a fact and not an opinion. Because I do things a whole different way than most people. My parents didn't really like when I got 2 dictionaries and all those other resources. And I think it was more than just jealousy. And that's where I realized and started accepting I'm different than them. No matter how much they want me to be like them, I won't be. and learning, because I like to really work with my words more, which is called word search, or words. Well, you could use it as research, search, but it's word study. The correct way to use it, word study, when you want to get more into words. And there are numerous books. My favorite books are called interactive workbooks, and they have different books of those. They got STEM books, they got science books, they got English, they have language arts, and other books like that. So, and I like certain places here that I can get books. One is called the Learning Post, which is a very good place to go and get different grade level books and start working with them. And they're great for everyday usage, but a lot of times we don't get a lot of credit in this world, so we don't actually get, a lot of people don't get paid like they're supposed to. So it's really hard sometimes to get paid. Oh, speaking of that, and there is my diploma. I got a thing on the school in it. I keep my diplomas and stuff in here. It's big enough to hold the documents. But anyway, I've been on here for quite a while, so I'm going to make it a little bit short. But this is actually the condition I have that is not diagnosed, that should have been, but wasn't. It's because it's not very commonly diagnosed. It is rare if this is diagnosed. And it has to be, usually in general, it has to be diagnosed by an OT. Physicians may not know about this because, again, the DYS can mean issues with praxia. It's actually praxis, but it means activities, and there's other things it means. So problems with activities. So with that, like that one just said, school. This is the page of it. What causes dyspraxia? It talks about the central nervous system and other things in the body that is based off movement. So everyday movement. This is one of the few things that is less commonly researched in children now. And I'm going to eventually be getting certified to be in that area of occupational therapist. I'm hoping that's another one of my goals. But this is just a basic book. You can look it up and Google it. They got numerous pictures that I can relate to with this condition and tell you more about how it affects me, because of my chiropractic care issues also. That's another thing, because it shows, I like this, it shows that this character is not functioning, it's a puppet of course, not functioning normally, or is in an abnormal position, kind of. So yeah, that also is something else. And I've got more books than this on this medical condition. But this was actually started to be known in the 1900s. So I think it's in 1925, it was known out of the country before America. So it is an international medical condition. It's not just America. And it was known by the French first. And then the year I was born, 1981, you can look me up. This was also called DCD, Developmental Coordination Disorder. And like if you have issues with writing, this is also can go hand in hand with it, but the dysgraphia is more of writing. But this also focuses on hand and eye coordination as well. Since I could read most of this, some words I might have trouble on, not because I want to, but because I'm not familiar with it. Yes, I could try to enjoy today. But I put stickers on there because I love stickers. I remember trying to make those paper airplanes. And I don't do a lot of what other people do. I know sometimes I sing menacing, but it varies on that. Hey, where did my... Oh, I hid it. But I have a drawer over there that has all my favorite... Well, not all, but some of my favorite stickers on it. I collect those and then I put them on my furniture for comfort, mainly. Like the leaves over there. I used to love picking up leaves and trying to describe them or just look at them and feel like I'm a leaf. Metaphors. Metaphors and similes. I might say smile accidentally, but that's common in my language too. So I'm not used to using words like that yet. Because of all the delays of how people teach me. So I have to reteach myself. A lot of times, like that book over there is a word book, so a lot of times, like that book over there is a word book, so that not everybody will want me to have that. But it's to help with language and writing, perfect your writing a little bit more. And then here I got all my books, not all my books, but some of my books. There's a book on the floor. Which it doesn't really have a floor, but it's a spell over. This is my favorite one. This is Think, Do, and Read. And you actually cut the pages out. But I wouldn't recommend doing that because of the fact that it has stuff on the back. So you'd have to make copies and get permission, if you can, from the publisher or publishers. Explain what you're going to use it for. And don't focus on this so much with books if it does have a grade on it, because that can screw up a lot of reasons why for some people that they looking more into the book. So these are mini books, so it varies on the size of each book. Looking more into the book. So these are mini books, so it varies on the size of each book. So they might not be full page size. Like these are not really full page size. So they might be half a page or a different size. here comes a yellow leaf. Oh, cool. Gently floating down. And yeah, I'm reading sideways. Sometimes I don't read sideways. But I have the book sideways. No, I don't. Well, it's still sideways either way because that's the way they decided to put the font in the book. This word is abused a lot, gently, and it's actually a biblical principle. If you look in Galatians 5:22 through 23, you will find the 9 fruits of the Spirit. One is gentleness. That's the other thing with Scripture. God principled those so we can benefit more. Unfortunately, a lot of times those benefits will die quick because of how we abuse them. So, like, we might not have a general approach to what someone says, so we're not actually being 100% fruitful. And that is another issue that most families have raising kids, is they're not as fruitful as they need to be, and it makes communication harder. It makes how the person is going to achieve things harder, how they're going to make money harder, no matter how they're going to eventually do it. Like if they're going to make their own business, get all the necessary requirements for the business, get it known, get it started. Like I already have business supplies. I just don't have a building to start it in because that could be quite expensive. But I looked into some building, not fully, but there are some businesses that do have buildings, and I don't know how many of them actually have a business here in my state of Iowa. I don't like Iowa because of the 4 freaking seasons. I'm not used to the 4 seasons. I'm from the southwestern to be exact, Arizona. I was born there. I was born at Maricopa County General Hospital, which is now I think it's Maricopa General or Maricopa Hospital or something like that. They might have took some stuff out of it. Really? Oh boy. Just another interruption. I hate interruptions sometimes. I read a quote about a guy that said something about interruptions. I'm not surprised how many quotes I've read. I've read over 100 quotes, and I'm like, yeah, I can relate to them in different ways. Some ways it's going to take a lot for me to relate to the quote. Like this. Boop. I love this thing. It has a yin symbol on it, but it is a zodiac. Oop, yeah, that's not going to come out very good. But it has the Chinese zodiac, all 12. There it goes. I am the rooster. In here, I was born in 1981. I like the yin yang pattern. That's actually pretty clever and pretty at the same time. But I had one of these for my friends, but some people abuse places that people die, cemeteries. where they keep, where and how they decide to keep a person once they're deceased. I have 2 places I go to for the deceased. My grandfather, that was in the military, uh, he's in Arizona. I don't know where. My family did. He's in Arizona. I don't know where. My family didn't want to tell me any of that. Cold-hearted, in my opinion, because I am his granddaughter, or was. I'm not active duty. I wouldn't be able to get in anyway. Weight issues, eating issues, etc. But he's not the first in the family that was military. My grandmother's boyfriend that passed away in my childhood, or around teenage somewhere, he passed, and he was in the military. So he got the 21 gun salute, and it is not a pleasant sight. That's to say, funerals are not pleasant sights for me. And we had kind of like a funeral for my mom, but she wanted to be cremated. So she did not have the burial. She just had the cremation. And I was there. There is a picture, I don't remember where it is, somewhere on one of my profiles, of some of my family members on that day that my mom got cremated. Or we did the cremation. I think we did it in different ways. But my friend was cremated too, one of them. I don't know how many of my friends are going to be cremated, but it is expensive for burials. Mine's going to be probably around $40,000 or more. But I'm planning on mausoleum, which is above the ground. My girlfriend, that passed away in 2005, she got the burial. I was able to go to her little, I think it was the last part of the funeral, I'm not sure, but it was like where you meet people and you randomly talk to them and stuff, and one of my friends appeared, and I was like, wait a minute, I know this guy. Yeah, and that was the unexpected thing. I was not expecting him to be there. But I stayed for, I don't remember how long I stayed, but I expressed how I felt, and I talked to him a little bit. That's mainly all the people that really approached me, which wasn't too surprising, because I'm not as popular as some people are, and I don't get a lot of credit. Oh, thank you for that. So yeah, like the lies, you can share it, but it just varies upon if I want to share it more or not. This is kind of like a new live. I don't go on live very much because of my high stress levels and stuff like that. What's going on right now. So yeah, if you can hear me, just keep commenting. If you have questions, let me know which ones you want me to answer, and I'll answer it as best as I can, even if it's not all the answers I have. Sometimes I just randomly choose. But I'm going to try to share this and go live a little bit later. So if you could, I don't have subscribe yet, but there are other places where I am, which is Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. I'm all on those, so you'll find me there. I also use different names for different purposes. Like I use Angelina, which is my middle name. I use that because of different identity issues I have. So that's the other thing with that too. And considering I had some family that I didn't know about that had it spelled with a C instead of the K. So I was like, oh, now you tell me. Out of all the times, now you tell me. One of those things. But anyway, I'm done with the live, so see y'all. And if you want to talk to me more,